This is Judge Joe Brown, and you're watching We All Be News TV, the
News-Free Dixie.
News-Free Dixie for the 21st century.
So yeah, I met with him. I connected with him a couple times at the SOLA Conference National.
Yeah.
The College of Wilson Association, and I saw him in Cincinnati this past September.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a good brother. He's brilliant, man. He wrote so many books and stuff. And
he's out of St. Louis, that area.
yeah, he's born out of St. Louis, but he's a professor down in University of Houston, I believe, or somewhere.
Right, that's right.
But he's a good brother, man. I like it. I like how his mind works.
Yeah.
And I like his theories about things. He was saying that Jack Johnson was supposed to connect with Pancho Villa. I said, damn, really? Mm-hmm. And I ain't know Pancho Villa had like Negro roots or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
They don't never talk about that, though.
Well, they're not going to.
Right.
Just like they don't talk about all those black folks. Why would they side with the white settlers who were slave owners?
That's right. Was it black folks that burned down the original White House?
Yeah. They rewrote the history and tried to act like we was in favor of George Washington and all of them. The mass of black people weren't. Mm. And they've rewritten history and written out like we wanted them to win because they sell the so-called American Revolution, greatest slave-holding society that the world had ever known. And we're its victims, and we weren't around there talking about, weren't they fighting for freedom? Hell, they were fighting for the slave trade.
Mm-hmm.
So you said black people burned the White House down?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard that before.
Yeah, that's out there.
Yeah, and who was it running for his life? President
Madison.
Madison.
He was your former governor of Virginia, James Madison.
Yeah.
And Dolly Madison. Yeah.
He was booking.
Black folks built the White House and black folks destroyed the White House. Okay. Black folks made Beneca made DC. Okay. Yeah.
See, we don't.
I call it Beneca City.
Why did they burn the White House then?
Because they were in 1812. They were fighting to get free. We wanted to be free. Mm-hmm. Look, the biggest prize was Jamaica, Trinidad and Jamaica. The slaves revolted so bad there that the white folks had to move to mainland USA. It was revolts in Cuba, revolts in Jamaica and Trinidad and Virgin Islands and all them places. Mm-hmm. That the reason why they had to change their mind and come to the United States is because they had too many slaves in the Caribbean. Mm-hmm. Them slaves weren't going to put up with that stuff. Mm-hmm. They would cut white folks' heads off. Mm-hmm. I mean, they meant business. So they all moved here for safety. Right. Well, England said, okay, y'all can move here, but y'all got to pay some more tax for all the protection we've been giving y'all. They said, hell no. So what they were fighting England over, England said, pay us the money y'all owe us. Mm-hmm. See, because slavery was very profitable. Mm-hmm. Britain wasn't getting no do-re-mi out of this. Mm. We walk around talking about, well, wasn't it freedom? It had nothing to do with black folks' freedom. Mm-hmm. What this meant was changing hands. Right. This group of white folks would make more money than that group of white folks. Mm-hmm. And we're trying to talk about, well, ain't this independence? No, no, no. Wasn't this for religious freedom? No, no. Mm. These white folks ain't never came to America for no religious freedom. How you have religious freedom and commit genocide against the indigenous people that live here? I don't know who you praying to.
Yeah.
You know, you tell them stupid people that you won't believe all that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're dealing with today. With all these people. And black folks still don't really have our rights.
Right.
And we're afraid of freedom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we are afraid of freedom.
It don't feel right. Boss captain, just give me a loan. That's all I want.
And freedom don't mean you know everything's going to happen to you. You just want to be able to make your own decisions.
Yeah.
And experience things for yourself. I mean, that's all free people. What the safety net? You don't have to have no safety. There ain't no safety net in freedom.
Well, it's
do what you want to do. And accept the consequences.
No safety net in freedom.
No safety net in freedom. No.
It's scared.
Let me ask you, why do you say that?
Because, I mean, basically...
Somebody always trying to take it away.
Right. Somebody always, when you're afraid, fear is how this system thrives. This system thrives on fear. Okay. That's how they pass these unjust laws, and they could justify stop and frisk and all this stuff because of fear. When you don't fear anything no more, you accept what it is as it is. Like, when you don't, like Dick Gregory said, fear and God don't exist in the same space. Mm-hmm. When you don't fear no more, you become fearless. But, you know, to have courage is to act in spite of fear. To be brave is to act. You might be fearful, but don't let the fear stop you or paralyze you from reaching your full potential. Right. When you wake up in the morning and walk outside your house, ain't no guarantee you coming back home at night to sleep in your bed. We take that for granted. Right. So every day we live and come back home is a miracle. We miracles, man. Right. We miracle workers. Right. When everybody tell you that, you know, there's no way, no how things happen, like the statues coming down. Right. I thought it was gonna be a while before this something like that would happen, but it happened. Right. But because of us as black people, we don't believe in ourselves. We don't know who we are. We don't believe in ourselves, and we twice defeated. Right. When you don't know who you are, you don't believe in yourself, you can't do anything worthwhile. Our
duty is to keep all of it together and not just be parading around here. Well, I don't know. We just so happy not knowing.
Because there's no responsibility, and you don't have no responsibility. When you know you got a responsibility, you got to make decisions.
Well,
do I share it or do I just keep it to myself? I don't want
to. Well, we go. I don't know why our kids don't respect us.
Yeah,
I know why they don't respect us. See, they don't see evidence of us respecting ourselves. They don't see evidence of us protecting them. They don't see evidence of us building anything for them. We make excuses for why Whitey has to own everything. And he may let us occasionally use the stuff he stole. But he catching hell because he's got to compete with the Chinese now. Over 2 billion Chinese in the world. And he ain't just competing with us. Long as he think he competing with us, he put a boot on our neck, our foot in our ass, and he's just so happy. But try that with 1.5 billion Indians. 2 billion Chinese. And they got nuclear weapons too. Right. Anybody use nuclear weapons are going to destroy the planet. If they blow up just a handful of nuclear weapons, that's the end of the earth. The end. Because I'm told that you will blow the earth off its axis. You'll disturb so much, you'll disturb the gravitational pull of the planets. There are people that know this. I'm only of average intelligence.
Well, I'm going to ask you a question. What I find that the black family is not close as they used to be.
Right.
It looked like our youngsters, they want to disassemble themselves once they get to be adults. And they don't respect the struggle.
They don't know the struggle.
Well, they should know a little bit about it, but...
They don't. Did we tell them?
Yeah.
We got too lazy consuming. We got caught up in consuming and believing somehow that we fit in to this American dream illusion that we haven't told our young people how these people treated us, which wasn't too long ago.
Yeah, that's
now,
That's one part of it.
We have no reason to have amnesia. Then we send our children to schools who purposefully do not teach our young people American history. What is American history? The truth about it. American history is not statues of Robert E. Lee and Nathan Bedford Forrest and all these little people back there in Virginia, Stonewall Jackson and all this kind of, all these schools named after these.
Yeah, because they was following a tradition, was to dominate.
Yeah, well, that's their tradition, to dominate. Yeah. Their tradition is that they do not believe in freedom, nor do they plan to practice it, not unless something very serious happens. Well, you know, General Beauregard.
Yeah, I think they believe in freedom, but I don't think they believe in freedom for all.
I don't think they believe in freedom.
I think they believe in freedom for
not really
a certain class of people.
Well,
and most of all, a certain race of people.
Okay, well, what about poor white folks? I can't defend them because they must walk alongside of us. Poor white people did not benefit from the capitalist ripoff of this country.
No.
If that were the case, you wouldn't find any poor white people. So the power structure has a class problem as well as a race problem.
But you got to get those people to come to realize that somewhere they have been left out also.
Yeah, but they better hurry up. See, they got to make up their minds whether they want to do something to uplift humanity and uplift their own progeny. That's their offspring. If they're not willing to do that because they want to get in the bed with a lie, if whiteness means that much, and I don't have that other book that you need to get yourself a copy of, The Future of Whiteness.
The Future of Whiteness.
There is no future for whiteness. Whiteness has never worked for the masses of white people, and it's not going to. That's why they'll come to a meeting and say, well, I've suffered too. Yeah, you've suffered because you're more stupid. You know, in other words, you thought whiteness was more important than democracy, practicing it.
Well,
they've got to practice it. You can't be talking about, but I'm white. Like I have a coworker, and I may, but anyway, I can just imagine people saying, I'm white, like a bird. I'm white, I'm white, I'm white. You know, wow, okay, you have less pigmentation. Mm-hmm. Why should that in and of itself be of a value? Like that stands in the way.
It's not a value. It's a way was to segregate themselves from the rest of the world, to make themselves be a superior to them.
Okay, well they got to give it up. They got a choice. Yeah. See, that choice is coming.
They're not going to give it up.
Well then,
that's right.
Well they're going to have to suffer then. Yeah. Mm-hmm. See, when they start suffering, don't run to me talking about, well, you got to understand how hard it is for me and my children. Well, if you want a good life for you and your children, you got to go for justice. And that has to do with policemen. A policeman said, well, gee, this is my job. Oh, your job is to go kill black folks? When you see them, you just get excited or you go crazy? Well, you're going to have to undergo some kind of therapy that informs you that black people are, first of all, as I understand it, the first people on this planet, this earth. So if you say you believe in God at all, why would you attack black people? You shouldn't be attacking black folks.
Because there's a certain segment of people, white people. I'm not putting all white people in the same category. There's such segment of them that are never going to accept that.
Well, they're going to have to sort that out.
The other race of people, yes, it's important.
Well,
and they gonna always find a reason.
Well, they need to find a way not to do that.
But that's what the majority of the people are
Okay,
doing.
well, they need to find a way. See, because that's not a good defense. You can't go to a black person and say, really, you know, there's a lot of white folks that mean well. I know many white folks that mean well. I honestly do. But unless white folks straighten out what whiteness is, instead of saying, well, I really don't dislike black people, it doesn't matter. The point of it is, this could have been what happened in Memphis, Tennessee. That if you get, and I don't know what a magic number may be, if you're talking about the city council, you know, even if the city council had some weak-kneed, confused black folks, these black people could not continue, Mr. Hurd. They couldn't continue to say, well, gee, I know these statues are so sensitive. What kind of black person are you to say what we need are these statues? These statues do not represent the present composition of the city of Memphis, does it?
Neither do
or the sentiments.
Neither do it represent what American is all about.
Okay, well, who's going to change it?
That's why they took them down. That's why
well, okay, well, maybe they took them down not for quite the right reasons, but if people think that's a start, fine.
Well,
that if you don't want inequality to represent you, you're going to have to speak up.
Well, see, the past, we can't, the past mistake that this country has made towards minority and the middle class and poor people, the problem that this country has made, when they put those statues up, we had people in power were for the KKK. They wasn't actually there to represent the black. They were there more to impress, keep suppressing the black and to advance the white people.
Well,
and
we got to have somebody, and that could include everybody. There are white people who could articulate some of the things you articulated, and they better darn well start doing it. You know, you can't just say, okay, racism is a black problem, and it's just up to black people to straighten all these things out. This is incumbent upon all people. You know, you can't say, well, the policemen, they just want to kill black people, and we just don't know why that is. Well, we better straighten it out.
Yeah, but
because injustice to one person is an injustice to all of us, and we can't say, well, black people just got to learn to adjust to all of this. We've been doing this for hundreds of years, just adjusting and defending and rationalizing.
Well, let me say one thing. Now, a lot of situations when you come talking about the police, a lot of times we do be in the wrong, and we do, but you can't just look at a person because they're black and treat everybody like they criminals. And sometimes the police system, when they pull over a black man, they automatically put him in that category that he a criminal, he a lawbreaker, you know, and so they treat him harsh. They looking, when he make a mistake, they looking to kill him or do something to it.
In a just society, don't have that.
Right.
If you have a disproportionate number of policemen who are white, that's not even reflective of the society you live in. In other words, the makeup of the police is wrong. The makeup of the judicial system is wrong. Criminal, racist, and corrupt. Ferguson is a good example, but we don't even need to go to Ferguson. We can look at any city in South Carolina, North Carolina, and find the same madness. In other words, whites are employable. Let's put them on the police force. And if they hate black folks, maybe that's better. That's even good. We'll unleash these people in the black community. How then could justice take place? See, the assumption is that black people are for lawlessness. Black people are not for lawlessness.
Right.
But when you put unlawful police and judicial authorities in place that have power, when you put people who are supposed to be in charge of education, and the only thing they want to do is to maintain white supremacy, we can't keep aiding and abetting that. We can't go along with that talking about, well, we got to kind of explain this away. What we need is justice.
Let me ask you a question.
Justice in the, and you know, there's a joke that Richard Pryor had. He said he went down to the jail and all he found was just us. Well, see, we can't go along with that, because if you arrest and mistreat the wrong person, that person then can't believe that you are objective in administering justice. You wronged them. You've alienated them. Your system doesn't work. You know, many years ago, there were some white folks says, well, they arrested a couple of black guys. Maybe they ain't guilty of this crime, but they're guilty of something.
Right.
So we'll just send them to jail anyway.
Right.
See, because they must be guilty of something. Well, why don't we treat white citizens this way?
Yeah, they're guilty of something, being black.
Yeah, but you can't, if there's a crime, it could be any type of crime, but let's say it's a heinous crime, and they had to admit that the perpetrator was white. They can't go arrest 20 white individuals for this one, or detain 20 white individuals for this one crime. Now they can investigate.
Let me ask you another question.
But you think they can take 20 whites and beat the hell out of them, interrogate them, and do all of this, when we know maybe there is a white individual who did commit a crime, but you can't just grab up any white and say, well, we tired of looking, so they'll do.
Okay.
This won't do anymore, and black people need to demand justice and not come in the courtroom talking about, well, I know we must be guilty of something. We can't make utterances like that, and we can't go along with white propaganda. Here again, we have a whole history of people with a Bible in one hand and a lynching rope and a whip in the other hand, meting out justice to us, and we're just supposed to be so thrilled and so happy, and we give allowances for a system to continually not only abuse us but make mistakes. I'm not suggesting to anybody that if there's a black person guilty of a crime, that we shouldn't be trying to find out which black person committed that crime. You know, if you arrest somebody, hang him, lynch him, and that crime is still going on, that type of crime, can you admit that you hung and lynched and punished the wrong black person? So what does that do to the black community? It terrorizes the black community. It says that Caucasians own the law. And as you look at this stuff now, Professor Hurd, when you see, I cut the television on and look at these congressional and Senate investigations of the Trump administration. Now I see that every white person almost to a person is willing to set aside all of the ethics and all of the laws and then with a straight face say they actually believe in God and the law. This is laughable. But this is the very thing that will destroy even this imperfect white nation. Are you going to be a nation of laws or a nation of individual white men? Like they can do anything they want to. And you can corrupt your own system in defending them. You know, never mind any evidence.
Well, yeah, just being white, my experience in life, that if a white guy say you did something, he could be lying, but they gonna believe him if it's against a black person.
Yeah, well, he or she should have to prove, in fact, that which they think and that which they say. But if we have a society that says, okay, a white person made that statement, so therefore it must be true, therefore we must act upon that statement.
Well, it's been my experience in life that they most likely take a white person's word over a black person.
Yeah, well, see, we can no longer accept that. We should.
No, we don't accept it.
We should never have
but
accepted it.
It still happens. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, well, it doesn't have to happen.
It's gonna happen
If we are vigilant, and if we are determined to speak up and to demand justice, not one individual.
Well, we have to keep fighting.
But all of us, because too often I hear on the news that there's a little rocket man. I am told that he is crazier than our leader. You know, don't tell me about somebody else's supposed crazy leader. Don't tell me about somebody else's crooked individual when you have crooks right in our midst and somehow you overlook that. In fact, they become the spokesman and the moral authority of your society. And yet they either got blood on their own hands, their crimes. We don't have enough time to even discuss the crimes. Here's Donald Trump, a thief, a hoodlum, a thug, and a grabber. He grabs folks. He doesn't have to be called into account for any of that. All of the people he has embezzled, all of the fraud that he has committed. They got that. Now, what kind of affirmative action is that? They're always talking about what black person is qualified for this and that. Well, it seemed to me that their rigged system defends. They had a guy they wanted to make a, what was it, a circuit judge? Okay. He'd never tried a case in a courtroom. And you're going to make him a judge for life? He knows nothing about...
You know why, don't you?
Sure, I know why, but we can't put up with that. And we can't defend whites who do.
Right.
There are whites who run around and says, well, you know, no, I don't know. I know that if you put him on the court, could this be some of our lowest points? To go out and find the dumbest, uninformed, ill-equipped white male and put them in charge of policy and the implementation of policy. Then you have no one to blame. You can't run to me after the, as they say, something has hit the fan.
I want to get back to the issue I think is interesting about the Confederate statue situation in Memphis and compare and contrast to how our black children don't respect the elders or older folk or grown folk for a good reason. I was there when they took down the statues, And the problem I had was the statues did not bother me. What bothered me that we supported the upkeep of the statue with taxpayer dollars in a predominantly black city. And I told the people when I saw their rally in July, the Forest rally, because they come down here every year, the Sunday before his birthday, July 13th, you had white folks by the hundreds and the thousands who come to Forest Park to honor him. They did that for 112 years. I went to the last 3 to engage, not to obstruct, but to try to understand their mentality, where they was coming from. Because you got to understand, you're in a predominantly black city, yet at this Forest Park, you held white folks by the thousands with open and carry, with German shepherds, with Confederate flags, with watermelon and so-called forest water, with guest speakers, with Civil War reenactors on horseback, with 21 gun salute, and with complete protection from the Memphis Police Department on taxpayer money. I told them, if y'all raise the money for the statue, if the sons and daughters of Confederates, y'all raise the money for that statue, why don't y'all buy the property and pay for it yourself instead of using our money to protect y'all and to support y'all movement? And my thing is, the removal of the statues is that black and white folks don't know the history of why they were so significant in the first place, the removal, but why it was put there in the first place. We don't understand history. See, the statue thing to me was propaganda. The American Civil War was history. We confuse history with propaganda all the time. That statue was not necessary. The Civil War happened before the statue. That statue was put up there in 1905 during Jim Crow time. You know what I'm saying? That was put up there because people told me, well, that statue was turned around to face south in the 1940s. That was the old timers told me, but there's no information to be found on that, unless a word of mouth. But what my thing is, if children don't know who they are and what this is all about, how can we blame the children?
Well, you can't. Well, who's doing that?
A lot of, people in our community not understand. Like, okay, for example, like you look at, the comedy PlaIN, right? When I saw it when I was a little kid, I used to laugh at it. When I look at it now, it's sad. Because really, that's what happened to the black family. The system always divided and conquered the black family unit. When you got a grown black man, a prideful black man, somebody who should be respected, hide it in the closet when the white lady social worker come around, there's a problem to me.
Yeah. Can you hold that?
Yeah.
I hadn't really.
That make you angry, man.
Stuff, but I did know that most people that really got that a lot of wealth, that they was involved in a lot of crooked stuff.
Right.
And they got away with it in the system because they were part of that crooked system.
They create the law, like prohibition. Right. They create the laws, outlaw stuff, to make money.
Well, why is it, and it's not just you, Ray, and it's not just Ron or myself. Right. Why is it we don't know? And why is it that African Americans who do have opportunity to find these things out, why aren't they teaching? And I include all these preachers because I don't like most preachers. I don't. My father didn't dig them at all. He knew they were full of it. They have misled our people. They don't teach our people. Now you are asking an important question. Yeah. But along with that question goes, or should go, the fact that black people have no concept of power, political or economic. We have zero concept. Even if people became members of local city councils and this, that, and that, a few of them may in some way have some sense of power. But the average black person, school teachers and all these folks, many of these people do not read. They run. They run away from knowing. Right. They don't want to know. Since you don't want to know, see, I guess they figure since they're not the first blacks that's going to get a foot somewhere, right, they figure they'll be one of the last to be put on the ship, the last to get the boot, the last to have a rope put around their neck. And that's their main concern. They just don't want to be the first ones to be killed, shot, mistreated, fired from these jobs. All black people are in lockdown. You can be Prince. You can be Michael Confused Jackson. All these people are confused. They actually believe that they are free. I know many of them want to be free. They deserve to be free. We deserve to be free. But again, we have no concept of power. And when we do get in positions that should have power, most of us are figureheads or either mouthpieces. We carry the water for the master. I mean, the master doesn't have to defend anything he's doing because we got some niggas that'll do it for him. I mean, we said, well, the master, I had to wipe the sweat from the master's forehead to keep the master cool and comfortable. That's my job. Not only do I cook and tap dance and entertain him, but I just want the master to be comfortable. And Professor Heard, I want the master to like me. I'm a likable Negro. You know what I'm saying? I want him to accept me and call me a good boy and a pat on the head. That's why we can sit in on a meeting and not come up with any kind of real economic understanding to say, wait a minute, I don't care what kind of statutes were produced. Do we know the economics of it? Why haven't they been paying taxes on any of this? You got all these statutes. Who put them up there? And if you want to keep them up there, you need to pay some taxes. And you want to remove them, you need to pay for that too. But some of us, we're so nicey, we feel sorry for everybody. But these everybody's that we mention don't feel sorry for us. They are out to do us in. And we never look after our interests. We want to make sure everybody else is comfortable and happy. And we're the last one as the train leaves the station. We're sitting there with tears, crying as the train's going on down the track, leaving us behind in the cold. They brought the Trail of Tears through Memphis, didn't they? You know what that was, don't you? The Trail of Tears. Yeah. They brought the Indians that they were moving out to the reservations. They brought them here in the middle of the winter with not even the proper clothing. Many of them died on the way in the Trail of Tears. This is Andrew Jackson's Madness, the Indian killer. But we don't want to know the history, or either that was a long time ago, or we need to celebrate. We don't know what we're celebrating. That national anthem that Francis Scott Key wrote as a poem, he actually mentioned black folks who fought for their freedom. They couldn't trust the white slaveholders. The white slaveholders wasn't going to free no black people. And since we refuse to understand our history, we're left with this jingoistic, well, George Washington is the father of the country, and Tommy Jefferson. You know, these guys are known rapists. And they talk about Moore down in Alabama. Moore didn't do a tenth of the stuff that Tommy, Patrick Henry, and Georgie boy did. Now, there may be just a little truth in some of them saying, well, you know, they're the fathers of the country. All the black women they raped. Hello. And see, we're hesitant. Well, it happened a long time ago. All you need to do is look around look at most black people, or look at many black people, and you can see rape. Look, the only living progeny of George Washington and Tommy, I'm not sure that's the same. The same is true of Patrick Henry. George Washington didn't have any living descendants from himself. Tommy Jefferson's only living offspring is Sally Hemings' children. And the Syphax family from George Washington. In other words, they spent a lot of time down there with black women in the slave quarters. You understand? Raping them in the front of their children and the guys that saw themselves as their husbands. They didn't respect family values. And here we are 200, 300 years later, quick to make excuses. We can't even defend ourselves. We can't even defend, and we won't tell our children their history. And then want them children to believe that we were doing something. So they have to ask you, well, what did you do? I've asked people, did they ever make statues in Memphis of slaves that could run fast and could get away? You understand? Like Herbie. Nigga Herb ran so fast, they couldn't catch him. The dogs couldn't. Why don't you make a statue of that?
Yeah.
You understand? Fugitive no more. But this is what they call us, and we go along with the dehumanization. And again, as they're doing this investigation of the Russians tampering with our elections, which is pretty hilarious. And it could happen. But what's interesting is that I sit in Memphis and hear something about a mall and the activity going on in the mall by young black people and their relationship to Facebook. You know, do we have the Russians who are stirring up racial conflict and confusion? Because it fits right into racism and Kluxism and all the rest of this madness. The David Dukes. I know he would side with the Russians and everybody else when it comes to black folks. You know, hell no, them niggas ain't getting nothing. We don't want them to have nothing. We don't want them to have decent food. We don't want them to have decent medical care. We don't want their children ever to have a decent education. We don't want it. We don't want them to have marketable skills. We don't want them to earn their place in this society. And we're not going to recognize them. We don't recognize their parents. And if the parents are silly enough to get the skinning and grinning, thinking that, oh, well, 30 white people really like me. You know, that's my main aim and goal in life, is to get a handful of white folks that like me. Because you get a handful of white folks that like you, you know you got at least 300 black folks that are stupid. They following them. They don't even know why they like you. They just, you're going along with some kind of program. They don't know what the program is. How does that benefit? I hear everybody talking. There's this coach or something that got run out of town. I don't know who he was connected with because I don't really follow all of it. Was he with the Grizzlies or somebody?
The last one they fired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in a town that has a good number of black folks, if black people were united, he'd have to be a pretty bad coach. I mean, where are black folks clout? Do they go to these games and support all this BS?
Yeah, I think so. But I think...
Well, then you need to use your power. If you feel that it's something that they shouldn't have done, then you have to tell their owners.
You know what he did? He was very vocal about the Confederate monuments. He wanted them to be removed. He said that as coach of the Grizzlies. So a lot of people think that might be pushback from him being vocal about...
What people?
I mean, scared people.
You mean the scared colored people?
The scared colored folk, right?
Well, then y'all, you ain't got no business complaining. See, if you felt he was a good coach and you wanted him, you have to let the ownership of the Grizzlies and everything else. And why don't black folks have some of the ownership of the Grizzlies? See, we need to be.
They do.
Well, they need to use it and stop being colored.
They're minority.
Yeah.
But you can't be colored. We always want to be in the back door of some shit and talking about, well, did you go to the meeting? What did they say? They. Who the hell is they? You have power, and you need to organize your community behind you.
I think Michael Jordan is the only black I know the owner.
Hey, majority owner. Yeah.
Well, that's sad. I don't believe it, but that's sad. See, that's sad. He's the only one. Good Lord of mercy. Boy, everything about us is pretty sad. So we're going to have to examine that and not run. As soon as we hear something, we're ready to take off. But that's too deep. I can't get involved with that. Well, COINTELPRO was involved with you. They were sending Coretta Scott King all kinds of fake pictures and stuff, and sending her letters telling her she ought to kill Martin. She ought to cook up some grits, boil up some hot water. When he's sleeping, take one of them heavy skillets and hit him upside the head. I mean, they're available to do all that. And where are we?
Let me ask you about the MLK thing. We're coming up upon the 50th anniversary of that. And I had went to a talk with Dr. William Pepper at the National Civil Rights Museum. I call it the crucifixion site. But I thought it was interesting because Dr. William Pepper was the guy who helped the King family get that U.S. civil lawsuit that found the government guilty of killing King back in December 1999. James O'Reilly, lawyer, wrote a couple of books about the King assassination. They would not allow the, black press or media folk to take pictures or record the event, although the guy has spoken on this openly for the last 30 years about the King assassination. And I thought that was interesting that they also would have the gun displayed, which was not the actual gun, to kill King on display and act like it was. And I'm saying it's very troubling to me. Can we have an honest dialogue in the city where he was crucified and assassinated in about what happened? Is it possible to achieve an honest dialogue about who were the players and all this stuff?
That's a good question. Let's see. As Bob Dylan wrote, the answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Like how many years must some lies keep being promoted? Just falling off the tongues, even of our own people. You know, that we carry the water for all that nonsense. And then at the end of the day, the end of the whatever, we think that our children should be focused. How can they be focused when they have to wrap their head around untruths and the indefensible? You know, how can they think straight? They're a lot like us. They want immediate gratification.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're like bling, bling, and ding. You know what I mean? Isn't it something slick? It's sweet and slick and all that kind of stuff. It's sad. But see, I don't decouple young black folks from their elders. We all belong in the same pot together. You understand? Never mind whoever it is trying to crawl out of it. We need to get in there and do some work.
Right.
How about telling the truth? And the last thing that should come out of our mouths is how we want to go kill our own youth and kill our own people. I mean, do we have any sense at all?
But it's like, go back to what Malcolm said, only a fool will let their enemy be the primary educator of their children.
Right.
And you still got folks come out, why they didn't teach them this in school? I said, you allow your enemy to give your kids his or her identity. This is what you get. You get the wolf chase situation.
Right. You know, and then you call them thugs. The hoodlums and thugs is Donald Trump. They're not called thugs.
Right.
Thieves and thugs. And he even tries to walk like a thug. You know, he just walked into the airport after all them lies and told them fools. First of all, 90% of black people actually think with a straight face they're in the middle class. 90% of white people are not in any kind of middle class. They suffer from great illusions too. I don't know what they're going to do when the truth finally comes out. That they don't have a pot to, well, you know what that saying is, or a window to throw it out of.
You did that tax bill gonna be the truth that finally exposed people to reality?
It should be. I thought a lot of things would, I thought grabbing folks would have been but
a lot of women voted for Trump. A lot of white women, the Me Too people. Yeah.
Maybe they want to be grabbed. You understand? And then they supposed to be religious. Now who they
voted for Trump?
White women?
Yeah, white women. You got the black women almost 100% went for Hillary. Because a lot of them thought that their white counterparts was going to go for Hillary, the white feminists. But a lot of them ended up voting for Trump. Right. Trump got the white woman vote. After he said all that stuff.
Right.
Then I talked to women, and I didn't know this until I started talking to women, like white and black. A lot of women don't care for women bosses. They don't want a woman boss.
Right.
I mean, these women saying, I don't want to work for no woman. It was women saying,
right.
Black and white, different types of backgrounds.
Well, I mean, black people act that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't respect black folks.
Mm.
You see, so we got a certain level of brainwashing that has taken place. And we just so happy. And we spew this stuff out. I'm sure you might manage to record some of these folks bragging about how they disrespect black folks. I'm talking about black folks disrespect. That is character. I'm sorry. I mean, he has contempt. Like he's always bad-mouthing the parents. Like, yeah, you know, and if your son get killed, you go to the funeral and be crying and all this kind of stuff. I mean, Bill Cosby didn't have any business attacking the black community like he did. And as I understand it, one of the great elders called him up and told him to cool it, that he's not in. You might know which one I'm speaking of.
Yeah, I think I do.
He called him and told him, look, don't let your stuff sound the same way as Rush Limbaugh and Newt Gingrich's critique of young black people. We know that they don't want black people to exist. And by the way, I'm going to test you a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's not negative.
Right.
But do you recall when the so-called Berlin Wall came down?
Yes, yes.
Okay. It wasn't but 2 days, and it could have been even before then, that the head of the Justice Department was giving national news press conferences wherein he said that since the former Soviet Union did not exist as that level of threat to American national security, he wanted to now identify the greatest threat to the national security of the United States. And he stated that the greatest threat was 16-year-old unwed black girls. You okay?
Mm.
I didn't make this up. I spoke a couple of times on it. There no longer was this any kind of terrorists and hoodlums, gangsters, thugs, whatever, or spies, or people into espionage. It was 16-year-old black unwed mothers You okay? He wanted the country to devote its attention and its resources to what he described as the greatest threat. Now, what's the boy's name? Sessions.
Mm-hmm.
He said the greatest threat to American peace and on the domestic scene was Black Lives Matter. Are you okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then you got this clown here in this town, Brother Thaddeus. Phew, I don't know who this guy is praying to. I mean, have we lost our man? Do you think Martin Luther King would say, in frustration, he would call our young people hoodlums and thugs and clowns, and that they ought to be killed? Martin Luther King didn't even ask for the Kluxes.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Mm-hmm.
And here is a black man saying that he wants an AK-47 to just mow somebody down, and he'd meet him in the streets at high noon. Now what? And he's supposed to be a minister?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard any? Can you imagine anything like that?
Oh, you mean he got a huge following, though? I mean, he's speaking to something. Like, it's people out there.
Yeah, he's speaking to stupidity.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I can raise the question with you this.
Mm-hmm.
This disturbed me the other night. Because is this not the beginning of what happened in these different countries, whether it be Syria, whether it be Afghanistan, Iraq, anywhere? See, the black people make the mistake of thinking, well, that's over there. Nothing like that could happen here. Well, it could happen here, where if these people got behind him and armed his group to go out and go through the community killing up and beating up young black people, aren't they doing some such things in the Philippines?
Mm.
I say, I can't hear you. They're doing this in the Philippines, killing people. The president of the country brags about how many people he's personally killed.
Wow.
Isn't this how the sectarians start? Isn't this how the death squad started in El Salvador with Dobie-san? Let me get that name again. Dobie-san.
Mm.
Is this thing running?
Yeah.
Dobie-san. He was head of the death squads in El Salvador, and his opposition was Duarte. And now we have a lot of refugees from those years. And by the way, that's that Iran-Contra thing that you spoke of, that Oliver North was peddling drugs on the streets of D.C. to raise money to buy guns to deal with the Iran-Contra situation, and sending cakes to Iran to threaten and to terrorize Iran. See, that's another thing that we all caught up in, trying to attack. We attacked Libya. They trying to attack. We attacked Iraq. We don't have no business in Iraq. What is it we're trying to do? We don't have no business in Afghanistan. We don't have no business in Syria. And we running through Africa. They got that brother killed. What is it that they're doing in Africa? And black people keep thinking that this stuff won't come to our neighborhood soon. It already has. Because if Thaddeus could be approved of, let's say Professor Heard, let's say that there was a lot of deaths created, even if he had nothing to do with it, and they blamed Thaddeus' group, or they said, well, maybe he did it. We had better be careful in this black community to see that they are politicizing this thing. In 1990-something, where were you?
I'm in Memphis.
How old were you?
Early 90s? Like 11, 12, 13.
Okay. Did you hear anything about the commercial appeal discovering that there was some early type FBI activity? In other words, maybe some groups that even predate the FBI. They had infiltrated many of the black churches in Memphis. And they singled out one, Friendship Missionary Baptist Church that my family belonged to in Klondike. You okay? You wait?
Yeah.
They had dossiers on any black person that knew how to read or write. Are you okay?
Yeah.
And any black person that had any kind of understanding of business, this, that, and the other. They said the reason why they were doing it is that they wanted to keep tabs on any sympathizers to the German Kaiser. You okay? They were afraid that black people would side with Germany. The commercial appeal found all of this information and put it out. I'm not totally sure of, it seemed to me it was around the 90s. Could be 80s, late 80s or 90s. And it mentioned, it has a big thing on Klondike and my church group.
Okay.
Now, are you okay? And black people are running around here now thinking that Sessions and the CIA and all the rest of them are not up to the same COINTELPRO running through Africa, killing up black folks. We still stupid. We stupid enough to think that they won't go to Ron Karanga and say, you should have heard what them Black Panthers said about you. Then they run to the Panthers and say, you should have heard what? I tell you.
Yeah.
What do you make of all of that? You live around here. Well, see, if we were to say it as some kind of understanding of who are these people? And why do one of them, I don't know about the others, why do one of them have a television program?
Well, it's almost, I'm thinking about Rwanda, back, Watusis and the Hutus, I don't know how the Tutsis around, but the Rwanda situation, where you had like the media there, declaring one group on the radio, calling them cockroaches for a certain period of time.
Right.
And let's go back to like Nazi Germany with Joseph Goebbels. Like, you're using the media to make a lie into a truth. Or we talk about fake news. But the power of the media, like Malcolm said, is the most powerful entity on the planet because it controls and influences the minds of the masses. So you got a place like Memphis, which is majority, overwhelmingly black. And you look at the local news, you look at some of the leading and most popular radio shows and TV figures, it's like their popularity is tied directly to negative portrayals of black folk. And so, like, when you do that, you make black people less human. And you could justify calling them cockroaches, thugs, and you could justify people doing extrajudicial things to black folk.
Well,
because you don't see them as human.
Suppose you have a black person who's financed and armed and allowed to spew out this stuff. And when he can distribute the largesse, in other words, he's empowered. There are weaker people and confused people are they gravitate toward thinking that, well, he must be legitimate. He must be bona fide. And why don't I follow that? He's on the media, and maybe people just like that. We believe that's what we want. He speaks for us. Man, he is a disaster. You know, I was angry when these black folks rushed over to talk to Donald Trump. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is the kind of relationship you're gonna have? And like they were supposedly representing black folks. Even that boy, I can't think of his name, Steve, on his television show.
Oh, Steve Harvey?
You know, I don't have, these are lightweights. Please forgive me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe he's well-intentioned. But what are their real relationships to struggle? Are we just on the periphery somewhere, carrying the water? So I find it quite troubling. And then I look at these children out here
Mm-hmm.
that they can be herded into some kind of, you know, some kind of area.
Mm-hmm.
Now, who organizes all that?
Who organized it? Yeah, that's a good question.
You know, and what's the purpose?
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, who's told to bring weapons and all this kind of stuff? And what grievances do they have with each other? What is all that about?
Mm-hmm.
And who's stirring up all this kind of stuff? Because they tried to do this against Martin Luther King. Stir up all kind of, how many preachers don't like him? How many, what groups here hate him? You know, to stir that up, to fuel it.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know that this is how they've done it in these other countries.
Mm-hmm. Like the Arab Spring, all that was manufactured. You know what I'm saying? Intelligence. You think about why North Korea or Iran hate us, you got to go back to the 50s, because Iran had a democratically elected government, and all they want to do was control they wanted self-determination and control their resources. Right. And the MI6, the British intelligence, and the CIA went in there and overthrew their government. Same thing, we look at North Korea.
And you know the big corporation that was involved?
BP.
BP?
British Petroleum.
Go ahead.
You know, and then like you look at...
I say give me two. Go ahead.
I'm going to wrap it up. It gave me bus rate, but...
People who don't know this.
But even Korea, we was dropping biological weapons on Korea. And you had captured GIs that told the truth. But then when they got home, they were like brainwashed, because people don't understand Maryland, Fort Detrick. Mm-hmm. That's the home of anthrax.
Right.
And the CIA killed one of their own people, this guy named Dr. Frank Olson, who was going to become a potential whistleblower. This is what the CIA did. They threw him out the 13th floor of a hotel window in New York City back in November 28, 1953. Dr. Frank Olson was killed by the government because he didn't like what they was doing. He found out that we was dropping biological warfare on the Korean people, and he wasn't okay with it. This is one of the guys who helped develop LSD. Yeah. MK Ultra, assassin program, the Phoenix program.
LSD.
This is the government that did this. Like, you know, Harry Truman, he said his regret was forming the CIA. This guy dropped 2 A-bombs on Japanese people. Yeah. The thing that bothered him was the CIA, because he knew they killed Kennedy.
See, we don't analyze why they dropped the atomic bombs. You have any idea?
Oh, you know, he was told by his advisors he didn't have to do it.
The reason why they did it was to intimidate Joe Stalin.
But they wouldn't drop it on Russia, though. See, they still white, right? They dropped it on the yellow people.
Well, this was...
They wouldn't drop it on Germany, wouldn't it?
This was to attack the Soviet Union, because they didn't want to share power with the Soviet Union. The reason why World War II in Europe started in the first place is Hitler says to them, all of you all got empire. Germany is powerful, and we don't have an empire. What about us? They said, well, too bad. Your group is late. Hitler said Belgium got the Congo. Little Belgium.
Right, King Leopold.
You understand?
Killed more people than Hitler.
Holland and the Portuguese got empire. The Portuguese had Mozambique and Guinea-Bissau. And Hitler said, well, why? They said, well, the thing is already divided up.
Right.
He said, well, I'm going to attack some of y'all. In other words, Germany needs some empire.
And who financed their empire?
And we want some empire. We are a powerful country.
Right.
Why can't Germany, big powerful Germany, why don't y'all cut us in? England, France, the United States. Say, oh no, we ain't cutting y'all in. So we act like we were more moral and ethical than Adolf Hitler's group of gangsters. What you got is gangsters fighting each other over third world. So-called, this is what Churchill called them. People of color and black folks, they were third world.
Right.
So what they fighting over is something that doesn't belong to any of the Eurocentric white countries. They can pray all they want to and go up and down. And these wars, the irony is that these wars were won by third world countries. Y'all all right? And we can prove it easily. In the Philippines, the Filipinos run the Japanese side of the Philippines. In Vietnam, there was a guy named Ho Chi Minh. They went and found him. You understand? He was in the jungles. And they said, look, we need you to fight in Indochina against the Japanese. He said, well, we're trying to get the Japanese out. They said, look, we will drop all kinds of munitions, weapons, everything you need, supplies. They told the Chinese, but see, Chiang Kai-shek, their ally, said, no, his biggest enemy was Mao Zedong. He wouldn't fight the Japanese. So Mao had to fight the Japanese and Chiang Kai-shek. Whooped the Japanese and ran Chiang Kai-shek to the island, to Taiwan. And there's a Taiwanese people. See, people don't know this. Taiwan doesn't belong to China. But China says, well, since the Civil War, where Chiang Kai-shek was defeated, he runs to Taiwan and takes over Taiwan and start calling it China. You're okay? And we walk, I see black folks walking around here repeating garbage, and they should know better. When the Vietnamese ran the Japanese out of Vietnam, the French decided to go back into Vietnam. Ho Chi Minh came to the United States and asked America, support us. America said, no, you're a territory of the French. You're a French colony. Ho said, okay. He goes back, organize the Viet Minh, and defeat a European army which scared the shit out of European countries. Here's a bunch of Asians now. These rice eaters, they defeat the French. Eisenhower and them were thinking about using nuclear weapons against the Viet Minh. They defeated that Dien Bien Phu. And Malcolm loved to talk about that stuff.
I know Ho Chi Minh used to come over to hear listen to Marcus Garvey speak in Harlem.
So the French were supposed to withdraw to the south, the Viet Minh to the north. America slips in as the French is withdrawing and say, now we're replacing the French, and we're going to create a puppet government under GM. An American trained puppet, Catholic and puppet. They're supposed to have free elections. Well, Ho Chi Minh would have been president of all of Vietnam. We go over there and say, no, we ain't gonna have free election. Ho Chi Minh said, I done told y'all, Japanese. Then we got rid of the French. Then now here y'all come. They said, well, we ain't the French and we ain't the Japanese. We can bomb y'all and bomb y'all. American took their butt over there. The Vietnamese lost a lot of people. They don't even know how many tons, thousands and thousands of times more bombs on Vietnam than they did of all of Europe. The Vietnamese said no. In the South, they had the local resistance, which is the Viet Cong.
Mm-hmm.
In the North, they had the Vietnamese regulars. Whew. Yes, sir. The price people paid.